Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Talking with Michael. I'm Michael, and today we have Liana Gabrielle. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very blessed.
So, you're a model, a dominatrix, and a blogger.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
I like to stay busy.
That is a lot. Okay, so how did you get into modeling? Let's start there.
Yes. So modeling was definitely something that I think I needed. I definitely grew up like the ugly duckling and being teased horribly and bullied. Modeling definitely helped me to embrace how I looked, and I started modeling when I was 18, 19, so the body is going through a lot of changes.
Right.
I definitely needed that kind of grounding and that confidence, and it made me feel pretty, and I was able to meet so many fun, creative people. And the collaborations, like meeting makeup artists and doing like really fun looks and themes, and photographers that have really intricate concepts. So it was great to collab and also to be able to feel better in my skin. And
now, you're a native New Yorker, correct?
Yes, I was born and raised here. They haven't kicked me out yet. Not yet.
So how does a young lady always go into private school?
Yes.
Specifically Catholic school.
Yes.
And says, I want to model, and then all of a sudden you're a dominatrix. How does that happen?
Well, the modeling was definitely like the only extracurricular I had going on. Besides that, I was very much in school, and at the time I was at Pace University downtown.
Okay.
I had a full ride when I got in. I lost my scholarship and all my funding when I had to take medical leave.
Oh, wow.
Yes. The way that it's set up in this country is if you take medical leave, on your transcript you get W's instead of F's. So it's credits attempted versus credits failed. That's the basis for rewarding federal aid. So I lost everything because I did not earn enough credits that I had attempted.
Oh, wow.
So being that I lost all my funding, PACE is $23,000 a semester, $46,000 a year. It was, what am I going to do to keep myself in school, and how am I going to, so it took me literally years to save up to go back to PACE. It took me 4 years of dancing and dominatrix and just figuring life out.
Wow.
So it was an adventure.
So wait, so you're the classic, I'm paying my way through school.
I started from the bottom. I started in strip clubs like a lot of young ladies do.
Wow.
I started from the bottom, now we're here. What can we say? God is good.
Right.
But I needed a way to pay for school, and
Okay.
I was not a fan of the CUNY or SUNY systems. I knew I did not want to do that.
Okay.
Also, my parents both graduated. They met in a CUNY school, and they always told me that they never wanted that for me. They always wanted better for me. So I didn't want to do that. Also, the class sizes are bigger, less funding. I knew it was going to be nothing. It wasn't going to be half the school experience I had in PACE.
Okay.
Coming from private schools, you're used to small class sizes, personal attention, professors having office hours to be there. It's not like that when you're in CUNY and you have nothing but lecture halls, or your smallest class is like 40, 50 kids.
Wow.
It's not realistic for a student who's just used to having the best. It wasn't going to be for me. It took me 4 years. I went back. I left school in spring of 2012, and I went back in fall of 2016. Wow. So it took me.
So what was that
4
day?
years.
And what did you do anything in between? Like,
I
okay,
did a
I got to
lot.
pay for school. I did this job. I
did
did
a
this
lot.
job. Like, what were you doing before you said, I'm going to start dancing?
For me, dancing was my refuge. I never got along with my parents, and particularly my mother, who had the custody of me. My parents are divorced.
Okay.
And, we were just fighting like cat and dog. And there came a day that we were about to fight like two hood rats in the street. And I was like, we can't do this anymore. I need to remove myself for the sake of my mental health and everything else that I've always struggled with. It was time to go. So I needed something, and I had a friend who was a photographer, he was very nice. He did a photography session for a very nice girl, who turned out to be a stripper in New Jersey. And the photo shoot he had with her was simple headshots too. It was not even anything crazy.
Wow.
She came across my Model Mayhem profile, and apparently in the club that she was working in Northern New Jersey, they did not have any women of color or any minorities working in that club, and clients were complaining. So they told the girls that were working there, tell your friends, or if you see some models, try to get them in. So she was very sweet. She told me, just come check out the place. I had no interest in it. It was me and another girl. We did a bathing suit photo shoot together, but it was meant to be very editorial. It was bathing suits from H&M. We tried our best to make it like as classy, as posh as we could as 19-year-olds. But it was cute. She had blonde hair. This was not in your consciousness.
No,
not at all. We thought we were just doing the swimsuit thing. She had blonde hair. I had dark hair. We were trying to be editorial.
Right.
And the girl, the stripper in Jersey, ended up coming across those photos online, and she's like, "Oh, these girls are beautiful." She reaches out to us, and I took it as a joke, and I was like, "Oh, look at this girl inviting us to check out a strip club,"
Right.
My friend Beatrice, on the other hand, was like, "Oh no, girl, this is gonna change our lives. We're gonna get an apartment, we're gonna be working," and to her, it was just the biggest opportunity, and to me, I was just like, "Well, I can't let my girl do this alone."
Oh, wow.
That was more my standpoint, right? And she was all for it. She was ready to go.
Okay.
I, on the other hand, wanted to speak to managers and find out the status of the liquor licenses, and I wanted to know everything I was getting myself into. The manager was actually a young guy in his 30s.
Okay.
He was very handsome. But he was very sweet, and we were texting literally for 3 weeks. He was literally sending me like pictures and video of the club and like how everything went. And he's like, "You girls just come in and just feel it out. And then if you guys want to audition, you can get up on stage. If not, you can go home. Fine." So we did, and it just went the total 180 compared to how I thought it was going to go. I thought that I wasn't going to do anything, and that I was going to end up leaving, and she was going to have her shot at being the dream stripper she wanted to be.
Right.
Girl, you do you,
Now, there's a dark side to this.
Of course there is. She ended up chickening out. She was actually incredibly uncomfortable on stage.
Okay.
And, we're Spanish, we're natural dancers, she completely froze. Okay. All her natural rhythm was gone.
Wow.
She totally froze up. I have a theater background. Stage is home for me regardless, So play some music, I'm a happy girl. She ended up chickening out hard. I tried to go back to the club with her a second time. She had a very possessive older boyfriend at the time, who he tried following her to the club. And she was like, "That's it, I'm not gonna be able to come anymore." So I was kind of on my own, and we were actually supposed to get an apartment together. We were supposed to get an apartment together. She chickened out. I got stuck with the apartment. We were subleasing in Washington Heights.
So now you're in a position economically.
I got stuck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not only with that, but also you want to go back to school.
And with my family, I didn't want to be home. So I was like, well, it's a nice club. I met the staff, the managers, everybody was very nice.
Tell everyone a little bit about the good.
The good, okay. I was 19.
And the bad.
Yes, I was 19. So in terms of the good, in all honesty, I was very much taken care of.
Okay.
I worked in a club that had the dancers, the women were pretty much all older than me.
Okay.
And they gave me honest, solid advice. Don't stay here. Take the money and put it somewhere else. Put it into school, put it into stocks, learn Forex, become a landlord, do something. But don't stay here. Use the money for something else. Don't spend it on cars and shoes and clothes, Really invest the money you leave here with. I felt very protected. I felt safe. There was a bouncer who we would carpool. There were a couple girls that were from New York City, and we would all get in his car together, and he'd drive us and leave us in Times Square. Wow. So I felt protected. I felt safe. It was North New Jersey. It was a pretty decent, affluent neighborhood.
Wow.
There's also, they did not serve any alcohol.
Okay.
So to each their own. It made me personally feel safer. I had other entertainers, I've had other girls tell me that it made them feel less safe because without the club serving alcohol, the girls take everything off. That's the catch-22. In the tri-state area, legally, you have New York, New Jersey, PA.
Right.
I think also Connecticut counts sometimes. No, it's CT, not PA. So the way that the laws work is if the club wants a liquor license, wants to serve anything at all, even if it's soft,
Right.
Then the girls have to be in pasties or they have to keep something on. It's more go-go, if you will, more go-go.
So the more liquor...
The more liquor, the more covered the girls legally must be.
Interesting.
But if the club is not serving alcohol, then the club can allow girls to be completely nude.
Wow.
I felt safer with the nude scenario because with girls walking around naked, clients were not allowed to reach out and touch them. We're in New York City. We have tons of clubs here in Queens and in Brooklyn, and it's basically you're allowed to walk in. The girls have pasties or the little outfits. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to walk in, slap ass, and it is much more contact versus when you work places that do not have a liquor license, that are not serving. Right. Bouncers are very quick to tell clients to keep their hands to themselves. I was
going to ask you that. In these environments, how safe are you as a dancer?
There's always a level of risk involved, and by law, all clubs are required to have cameras in the VIP rooms, in champagne rooms.
Wait a minute, in the boom boom room?
Legally, they have to. I have heard stories about cameras not working. I've also spoken to several criminal attorneys who've told me that legally there are no laws about what those owners have to do with that footage.
Oh, wow.
They could be selling it online in China for all we know.
Wow.
And that's completely legal.
Wow.
We do not know that. That is the risk you take when you sign up to work in these places. Strippers, you are an independent contractor.
Okay.
W-9, such as real estate agents. Versus the employees, bartenders, bouncers, and managers, W-2s, they are employees with paychecks.
Wow.
So that's the main difference there. Strippers are really only getting tips. That's it. There is no money coming from the club at all.
So I definitely want to transition into the other stuff you're doing, but what is the dark side that you would like young ladies to know out there?
You can be choked from behind while giving a lap dance. You can be hit for saying no. You can be... Violence against women is very prevalent in not just this country, but in the world. And unfortunately, we live in a country with a legal system that demonizes sex workers instead of supporting us.
Wow.
Which means if this has happened, there have been numerous cases of this happening. The most recent I've heard of is in Texas. A club in Houston, if I'm not mistaken, a girl was raped in a VIP room. Client was thrown out. Club refused to call 911, get her medical assistance, get the man arrested, rape kit, etc., etc. The club completely let the man walk.
Wow.
And just said, "Oh well, if he comes back, we won't let him in."
What?
And the girl is like, "I have to seek medical attention while you're on shift. You're here till we close." And then it's also, if you don't want to work here, you can work elsewhere. You're an independent contractor. You have no rights. So, you're renting the space.
So, from your experience, at least at this point now, would you give advice to nieces, cousins, future daughter?
Yes.
Do this or don't do this?
What's calling them to it?
Oh, okay.
What's calling them to it? You do have, let's keep it real. They want, look, I know this is pretty out there. You have women in Europe trying to get this to be an Olympic sport, okay? It is very physically enduring, and stripper size classes and strip exercise, the pole dance, the workouts, you will sweat, you will lose weight. Guaranteed. It's like, are you drawn to pole dancing because you want to be like a fitness pole superstar,
right,
and you want to just gain popularity in the age of social media?
Right.
Are you doing this of actual dire financial need, like I was?
Right.
Or are you? I think it's incredibly rare for anyone, male or female, to wake up and say, I want to be a stripper. Never did I ever wake up and say,
right,
I want to be a stripper. No, I needed the damn money.
Okay.
It's about what's calling the man or woman to do this. Men also make at least 2 to 3 times more than female strippers do.
Really?
Yes, because there's, how many strip clubs can you think of in New York that have male entertainers and not female?
Wow.
That's why they make more.
Interesting.
The only one I know off the top of my head is Hulkmania. I believe it's in West Midtown. Wow. The guys there make a killing. Why? Because there's barely any strip clubs with only male entertainers.
Interesting.
They make much more.
Wow.
So it's very, very interesting how things like that play out.
Wow. Okay, so So you would ask the question, what's calling
you to this? For some girls, I have seen some women that I personally feel it's an attention thing. I knew a girl that she was like, oh, you do so good, you make good money, like mentor me. And because there's not just the strip club. No, honey, we also have private companies. We do bachelor parties, we do divorce parties, we do, this is a whole empire.
Wait, there's a divorce party?
Oh, baby, I did those in the Hamptons.
Wow.
Good money there.
Wow.
The more money you throw, the harder the girls hit. Like, we do this. We do this. There's whole companies that do this legally and righteously with bouncers and security and drivers and singles to exchange for the guys. And we've done...
Now, is there sex?
There can be.
Okay.
I would say the companies are, of course, not supposed to allow things like that to happen. But every now and then you get someone who's very intoxicated or someone who's desperate to make more money. And they slip into doing, I would say in very larger parties where it's hard for them to keep tabs on everything. I've worked some parties that I was the only entertainer. And I've also done some parties that I'm one of 20 entertainers and 200 men in attendance. Some parties are huge. You think of the Hamptons, Pennsylvania. We've done parties in, those cabins that guys would rent out to go hunting. Yeah, we froze our tails out making our singles out there too. Atlantic City, the casinos, Foxwood Resorts, places like that. It's very, very common for hotels to have strippers coming in for parties. Very. It's a whole, it's like what side are you looking into getting into and why? Girls who do just private parties, it's typically because they have real normal respectable jobs and families, lots of moms and things like that don't want to deal with the club scene and being there till 4 o'clock in the morning. The parties, they know, the guys say it over the phone. Dancers 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, you know what time you're going to be able to get home. So for women who are dealing with babysitters or things like that, it makes it much easier. Now
they're significant others from your experience.
Yes or no. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. It really depends what they want to get into. I had the girl who I met her through the parties and she wanted to follow me into the club scene.
Wow.
And I brought her in with me under my name and she basically ruined my reputation in that club. She was the kind of person who had to drink in order to, quote unquote, loosen up.
Gotcha.
Also, the component with the clubs is you have to be comfortable with people just touching you and coming up to you. And, there is that level of nerves.
I don't want to be touched today.
Don't come to work that day.
Wow.
That's called take a mental health day. Self-care, baby. Self-care. You can't overexert yourself like that. She was the kind of person she had to drink to be there. And she would make herself a bloody fool. She would just make a fool of herself. Letting men touch in all sorts of places and, like out in the open, not even waiting to try to get them in a room.
Wow.
And her whole thing. And now the other day I looked her up on IG, she has like thousands of followers and she's enjoying that stripper kind of IG life.
Wow.
She loves it. She has the videos of her stripping and drinking in the clubs. So, but that's, it's not really my style.
Wow. Well, I would, I gotta ask this. Drugs.
Everywhere.
So it is real.
They're everywhere.
Wow.
You also have strip clubs that are getting shut down, not for prostitution, but for club employees selling drugs to customers. I remember I had mentioned club employees are going to be people that are paid, taxes taken out their checks, the whole 9 yards, W-2, real job. Real job. You have your bouncers with their security licenses. You have the management, bartenders, waitresses.
Right.
There's clubs that are shut down because of the employees selling to clients. And in some clubs, that's the only purpose for the VIP rooms.
All right, so
it's not so much to do things with the girls, it's to be able to do drugs in private.
All right, so let's move forward. You're stripping. And what made you say, Dominatrix? Ding!
Yes. Well, I was young when I started. I had a lot of energy when I started at 19. I probably started feeling tired, maybe around like 22.
Okay.
Also, intellectually, it kind of just wears you down sometimes. you know, I was tired. I was tired. I was also getting at that point that I was seeing girls do things that I would have never done for money, and I was like, what are we doing? Oh my God.
And that's an interesting thing. You're a self-proclaimed
I'm very
feminist.
much a feminist, but nothing irks my nerves more than girls just popping off and doing shit in the VIP.
Wow.
It's like, just dance and get your money. No one's forcing you. There's no pimp. There's no, nobody's forcing you. But then I had a very rude awakening, real world, we'll say. I had a very real world experience where I confronted a stripper that was doing a whole bunch of nastiness in the room. She was having anal sex with a condom for the same price that I was doing a basic topless dance in the VIP. So at the club, at the time, it was 15 minutes in the VIP room. The man paid $120. Our cut of that was $80. So for $80, that's what she was comfortable doing. And it just blew my mind. And I was very upset, and I was very vocal about it. Because, then guys look at us and they're like, oh, but so-and-so is, why aren't you? And it's like, that's not how this works. That's sincerely not how these places operate.
Okay.
But it's understandable why a consumer would have that perspective.
Because at the end of the day, this is a business. And now she's cutting into your money.
Exactly. And she was doing it right next to me, and we could see. It was like one-way, it was glass facing out, so guys could still see the stage.
Oh, wow.
You see what I mean? You could still see out, but you couldn't see in. Wow. So through the reflection, we could see what the girl next to us was doing, which made me feel safe. But at the same time, my guy was like, oh, but let me do this to you, girl. Home girl next door is doing this, So you said... And I'm like, what the... And I literally got up, I ended the room and everything, and I called the management. I was like, no, make her end. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to be pressured into anal sex, for Christ's sake, when sex is not even legal in any of the only state you can prostitute is Nevada. You can only do that out there. So for her to be doing that here, it's like you're going to get the whole club shut down because you wanted $80. Let's be honest. So where did the transition from Dominatrix go? I confronted her and she said, literally, she said to me with a straight face, in my country, your $80 is $800. Mind your business. Shit you not. Shit you not. Thick as fuck, this Russian chick. Sorry. Okay. Very, very voluptuous woman. Wow. I was flabbergasted. And that's when I kind of started to understand that not everybody hustles the same way, not everybody works the same. With strip clubs, you do have men that come in that want things that are different. Okay. They don't want to touch the boobies and the booty. They want other experiences. Right. So the most common, I would say here in New York, would be foot fetish. Oh. Especially because, strippers have the very high heels. Right. Men, there would be some men who would sit at the stage and only look at the girl's feet. Interesting. It's like, forget everything else that's going on. They're only looking at the feet. Those would be the guys that would pay for the VIP rooms literally just to massage the woman's feet and feel the woman's feet on his face and things like that. Mm-hmm. That would be your classic foot fetish. Wow. It also a very good source of money. Low contact for girls that are not like, you know what I mean. It's I don't want to be touched. It's a nice alternative. You could rub my feet. My corns. You could rub the corns all you want. These heels are high. I've been in these for 3 hours. Rub away. Oh my goodness. So yes, it can have some positive aspects. I did have nights that I only did foot sessions in the back. I would only get up on stage maybe once or twice, and I do rooms with the foot fetish guys. Again, I came into a foot guy who was transitioning into more of he wanted I don't like the word mistress, but that was he was looking for. I don't like the word. It is what it is. Don't matter if you don't like it. No. The word mistress and dominatrix tends to mean like that's the only woman that they have dominating them. But in the real world that we live in, mistress means you're married and that's your other woman. Gotcha. So I personally do not like being referred to as a mistress. I think it has a lot of negative connotations. I'm very comfortable and I prefer dominatrix. Okay. Yes, that for me, that's the main message. I don't ever want people to look at me and be like, oh, homewrecker. No, that's not what I'm doing here, people. Okay. Not what we're doing here. Okay. There was a guy who was looking for that one particular girl to dominate, and he was, I guess he was wealthy. Right. He had his own leash and collar, and he wanted to be walked like a dog. on all fours in front of the rest of the club, in front of all the other men. And
wow.
So this was a humiliation. This was going much more into psych.
Gotcha.
This was more of a psychological
and so this turned you on in a way because you're a psych major, aren't you? A political science.
Poly, yes.
Yeah.
What also turned me on was the money. It was he gave me a couple $100 just to walk him in front of everyone, not to touch me, not to have me dance, not for any of that. So mind you, this was in a small town in Jersey. So I was thinking to myself. I was such a young dreamer back then. I was like, my goodness.
Wow.
If I made this much doing this in New Jersey, imagine in New York where all the real special, we'll call them special, interesting people are.
Wow.
Me and you have both seen tons of those very interesting special shops all in the Village and in Times Square. So when I had that experience in the club, my mind instantly flashed to my first time in the Village. And seeing like the harnesses and the ball gags and the store displays. And I was like, if I could do this, if I could figure out a way to do this in my city.
Wow. And
that's kind of money I could probably make. That was what led me to it.
Wow.
With the internet, you had not just Backpage, but tons of other websites that allowed people to advertise for themselves, and the phone rings, you discuss with someone, details, show up, see how it goes.
So you're working for yourself. You're not working for a company.
Correct. That's the other big advantage is the power to go indie. So with the passing of SESTA and FOSTA and all these sites shutting down, we're screwed. We've been forced onto very obscure websites that are not safe. And then any website that has any actual credibility or that is safe wants an actual government ID. Now, when people are like, oh, but if you're over the age of 18, if you're not being sex trafficked and if everything is legal and kosher, why are you so hesitant? Why? Because I'm not doing this to have Uncle Sam come after me later for unpaid taxes and for all this sort of thing. That's number one. And number two, not everyone here is legal. So it is also discriminatory to require such IDs, especially to do such a type of work that does rely more on minorities in general, not just from a color demographic, but just in terms of socioeconomics. Minority is minority.
Wow. And it's a lot of non-minorities that are your clients.
The non-minorities make up 99%. Your 1% is 99% of our clientele. I've never had a person of color wanting this. I've never had an Asian person wanting this. This tends to be for men that are old and white and wealthy and working in very powerful positions, and they crave the complete opposite behind closed doors.
So you know what? This is what we're going to do, because this is super interesting and it's getting juicy. It's getting juicy where we're at. So we're going to make this a part 1, and then we're going to do a part 2. So, but before we go, say your website.
Yes, LianaGabrielleX3.com.
Okay, all right. So we'll be back in a second, and you could watch the next clip of the model, Dominatrix, and blogger, Liana Gabrielle. And you're here with Michael 7 Michael, and you're watching Talking with Michael. And we'll be back.